Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the 2022 Architecture Around the World program series, co-sponsored by St. Louis Public Library's Stedman Architectural Library and the St. Louis and Missouri Valley chapters of the Society of Architectural Historians. We're pleased to have you all here tonight with us virtually. I'm Chris Impastato, Fine Arts Librarian and Manager of the Stedman Architectural Library. And our library is located at Central Library, which is in downtown St. Louis. Questions will be answered after the presentation, so please feel free to enter your questions in the Q&A section in the bottom of the screen. Also, please respond to the poll and let us know how you heard about this program. And now I'll turn over the event to John Gunther, lead FAIA lead AP, and president of the Society of Architectural Historians, St. Louis and Missouri Valley chapters, to introduce tonight's speaker. John?
Thank you very much, Chris. Good evening and welcome, everyone. It's my privilege to introduce our speaker tonight, Catherine Kerr. Catherine Sliferth Kerr is Gale E. Henderson's youngest grandchild, the daughter of the late Mary Henderson and Armand Sliferth. She was born and raised in St. Louis, Missouri, where she attended John Burroughs School in walking distance of Henderson's home. She was educated at Michigan State University in East Lansing, Michigan. Catherine has inherited her grandfather's proclivity for fine art, design, and architecture, and now owns an award-winning interior design firm in Sarasota, Florida. Her designs have graced the covers of multiple magazines. Catherine has designed many celebrities' homes and been a designer for a series on trading spaces. She has also been a design team member for Women's Day magazine. Tonight, Catherine will present the works of Gale E. Henderson, prominent St. Louis architect, 1890 to 1969. Gale E. Henderson is a former Washington University architecture student. He was the original partner of Maritz and Young and later Kann and Carubia, before he became an independent architect. His body of works includes St. Ambrose Church on the Hill and other churches throughout St. Louis County and the Midwest. Many of his homes are listed in the National Register of Historic Places. His residential work includes homes on Westmoreland Place,
Please let me know if I can help you
Kingsbury
find
Place,
anything or answer any
Lindell
questions.
Boulevard, St. Louis Country Club
Make
Grounds,
yourself at home.
Clayton, Ladue, Huntley, and more. Ladue addresses included in Catherine's book: St. Louis Country Club Grounds, Sulla Road, Barnes Road, Upper Ladue Road, Fordyce Lane, Apple Tree Lane, Litzinger Road, Briarcliff, Price Road, Warson Road, and more. Henderson's clients and homeowners included the Anheisers of Anheuser-Busch, the Howes, who invented Tums, the Switzers of Switzer Licorice, William Robertson, who funded Charles Lindbergh's transatlantic flight, Senator Symington, and Fred Cry of Cry Meatpacking Company. And now, please welcome Catherine Kerr, author of the works of Gale E. Henderson, prominent St. Louis architect, 1890 to 1969. Catherine?
Well, thank you, Christine and John. It is an honor to host the presentation tonight for the Society of Architecture Historians, and such a great honor for my book to be added to the collection at the Stedman Library. And good evening to all of you from Sarasota, Florida. I'm Catherine, and it's such a pleasure to be with you. I have divided my presentation this evening into 5 sections. First, I'm going to discuss the history of Gale E. Henderson and what shaped the man. Second, I will present a brief overview of Henderson's affiliation with Raymond Maritz, followed by an outline of Henderson's partnership with Kann and Carubia, which became Carubia and Henderson. And next, I feature 2 artisans that Henderson collaborated with as an independent architect. And finally, saving the best for last, I will show some samplings of Henderson's greatly admired work in St. Louis, featuring a video tour of an equestrian estate that Henderson designed in 1930. So stay tuned for the video. Our first photo is a picture of the publication that will now be available in the Stedman Library and where I extracted most of my information. Here is a photo of Gale E. Henderson, as a young man, when he was in his 20s, and when he began his career. All great men have a history which crystallized their success. The following brief encapsulated history of the Henderson family reveals what shaped prominent architect Gale Henderson. To the right, the original, here are Henderson's paternal grandparents on the left. It's George and Catherine Henderson. And on the right is the original downtown Lindo Hotel that burned to the ground on March 30th of 1867. It was considered an enormous public tragedy with a loss equivalent to $20 million in today's currency. The Lindo Hotel was rebuilt in a Venetian style and reopened in 1874, and George Henderson was appointed the chief plumber over the reconstruction of the hotel, which was the largest building of its kind in America at the time. The hotel sported state-of-the-art bathtubs for its guests, such as Turkish and cold water steam and massage baths. In fact, a Turkish man on a gig pedaled around downtown St. Louis with a bathtub on his head to advertise the Lindo's luxurious baths. A lavish party was given that was talked about for years in St. Louis at the grand opening, and it even featured a special musical score pictured here for the event, and one guest arrived from Chicago in a dress spun of glass. The Lindo stood between Washington Avenue and 6th Street until 1892, when Stick, Spare, and Fuller was constructed. And I'm going to go back here and show you on the bottom left. The ruins of the hotel now sit in Tower Grove Park. George and Catherine's son, Frank, was number 5 of 7 children, and he became Gale's father. He attended Notre Dame, and upon returning from college, he married Lizzie Grace Gale of St. James, Missouri, pictured on the left. Now, the Gales were Protestants, artists and musicians, and in those days, Catholics did not marry Protestants. So Lizzie was not approved of, and the Hendersons did not attend the wedding. And Frank was completely cut off from the Henderson family in all the family's inheritance. Therefore, their son, our subject, Gale Evans Henderson, was born in complete poverty. Here is a picture of the Hendersons' home where Gale grew up. This home, which housed a family of 6 back then, didn't even have the wing to the left, and the roof leaked and there was a hole in the floor. Frank, however, eventually landed a job in the St. Louis Fire Department, and he rapidly advanced up the ranks. In 1898, the Elks held a huge event downtown at the then tallest building in the city called the Holland Building. It's pictured here, and it was designed, by the way, by architect Lorenzo Wheeler. And note the Nuremberg 2-story tile gable roof. Now listen closely to this story. The American flag did not hoist properly during the Elks event. And so Frank Henderson, with Old Glory clenched in his teeth, scaled this 13-story building with no ropes, and he raised the American flag with crowds of onlookers whooping and hollering in the street below. That day, Frank Henderson became a household name, and this act secured his position as the next fire chief. Frank Henderson advanced over numerous assistant chiefs and captains to become the fire chief of St. Louis in 1914, and Henderson, as chief, initiated many innovative fire prevention protocols. He was frequently featured on the papers, as shown here. He created practice fires, which he filmed for analysis. He even slept in the firehouse with the boys, but he did not allow smoking and drinking, and he created exams for all the firefighters to pass. But Chief Henderson is best known for cleaning up the city of arson fires and insurance fraud. And for all these reasons, Chief Henderson had bodyguards most of his life. It's also worth noting that Chief Henderson was a member of the national committee that created Fire Prevention Day, which is still celebrated every October 9th. So Gale Henderson grew up with these great examples of leadership and hard work and determination, as demonstrated by his father and grandfather. He inherited his artistic talents from his mother's side of the family, the Gales, who, by the way, that's who he's named after. But Henderson grew up with a fierce determination to never, ever live in poverty or a humble home that leaked again. And this is what shaped Gale Henderson to use his artistic abilities to build beautiful homes. After attending manual training school, Henderson attended Washington University School of Architecture, as John mentioned. Minnie Grace, his younger sister on the left, paid his way through college by working at Peabody Coal across the Mississippi River in Illinois. And by the way, on the left, that's Henderson as a cheerleader for Washington University. He was a big sports fan. Raymond Merritt and Gale Henderson were great college buddies at WashU, and they formed an architectural partnership. The firm quickly became the top architectural firm in St. Louis. Wrigley Young, also a college buddy of the pair, was the business manager of the firm. Note Henderson in the back on the right with the circle, and Merritt's in front of the 1912 hatchet, which is the Washington New Yearbook. However, in 1917, World War I broke out. Merritt was drafted into the American Foreign Service, where he served as an ambulance driver. Henderson was exempt from the war because he had two little girls, my aunts Alice and Jane. So he stayed stateside to run the firm. Merritt, after the war, then extended his education in Paris. So Henderson was left again holding up the firm. And for this reason, Henderson dissolved the partnership and then joined the seasoned architectural firm of Kahn and Carubia. Merritt then collaborated with their business manager, Wrigley Young, and formed the very well-known and accomplished firm of Merritt and Young. But let's first view a few of the homes designed by the team of Merritt and Henderson in the early 1900s. Let's begin with Floral Place. It's in Shaw's Park, which was one of the premier streets in St. Louis at the beginning of the last century. The gates pictured here mark the entrance to Floral Place off of Grand Avenue, which run west to the original entrance to Shaw's Garden, known as the Missouri Botanical Gardens. Floral Place was designed by Henry Shaw to create a dramatic entrance to his park, and Merritt and Henderson were a big part of Shaw's plan. The firm designed 5 known homes on Floral, probably more, including 2 homes perched right at the entrance of the park. Now note this home, number 3947. I want to point out the large ashlar keystones, the bonnet portico, and the bell cast roof line, which you can see on the roof and the dormers. These are clues. Merritt and Henderson were the architects. This home, number 3968 Floral Place, was recently featured in St. Louis Magazine. It was featured as one of the top 10 unique homes in St. Louis. Note the half bricks or the Flemish brick patterns, the wood trim and decorative brick cornice under the large modillions that support the bell cast roof again, and note the multicolored slate roof tiles. Note the original lead glass windows studded with stained glass, and the custom cherry built-in, and especially note the speakeasy located in the basement because Floral Place became a big party street during Prohibition. And amusingly, on the top right, you'll see a 1932 prescription pad written out for whiskey during Prohibition, which was found in the drawer of this mahogany bar. Here we have another lovely home on Floral Place, designed by the team. It's very similar in styles to the homes the pair designed on Ames Place in University City. Number 4272, pictured here, is one of the 2 homes designed by M&H in 1912. It sits directly in front of the entrance to Shaw's Park, and the 2 homes were designed for the Hemp brothers, and they owned the well-known American Thermos Company. This design was inspired by William Hemp's 1911 trip to San Francisco, and it's a very unique mixture of an arts and craft and Spanish style. This unique home, whose interiors they have hardly changed since 1912, feature a large center 2-story stained glass window of cupids and roses, and it's surrounded by a magnificent oak hexagon staircase. The home features multiple custom stained glass windows, and the bottom window is a vista from San Francisco. Note the hand-carved newel and the original light fixture from 1912. Number 4273 Floral across the street was built for Joseph Hemp. The general contractor for both brothers' homes was Albert Spengler. He was another college buddy of Henderson's. This stately 3-story home has beautiful views of Shaw's Park, but amusingly, these two homes are best known for the secret tunnel. It runs underneath the street between these two brothers' homes, and here booze was shuffled during Prohibition to the large mahogany bar in the basement of this home. And by the way, also amusingly, the Hemp women were never allowed to enter the basement bar. There's a secret closet on the 3rd floor of this home where liquor was hid for the women. Next, featured from the team's body of work is number 2 Forest Ridge. Nationally recognized urban developer Henry Wright, pictured, is the man who designed the St. Louis World's Fair in 1904, and he also developed this upscale neighborhood off of Wydown. Note the vintage and current photos of the entrance to Forest Ridge. Meritz and Henderson designed number 2 Forest Ridge in 1917 for Gustav Bischoff. His family owned the Swift Independent Meatpacking Company, famed for Mayro's bacon. For if you grew up in St. Louis, that was a staple on everyone's breakfast menu. Henderson oversaw this project as it took place during World War I, and Meritz was serving in France. Note the converted 4-car garage. The original old carriage house is across the drive. Note also the original living room and dining room stone fireplaces, the old wall radiators, and the vintage millwork. Here we have the iron entrance doors with gold gilded arrows outlined with a Greek key design, and the doors open to an interior vestibule with the original floor tile that is also surrounded with a matching Greek key design. Here are some of the original blueprints. Next, the beautiful front and garden elevations. And here are the north and south elevations. These historic blueprints provided to me by the current owner, Robbie McGee, are especially beautiful. Note here the masonry ashlar keystone and springers, decorative carved lunette, and the Juliet balcony. All are absolutely exquisite. Apparently, a German ironworker fashioned this winding staircase and all of the home's ironwork in the front yard in 1917. Now, Mr. Henderson designed 5 homes on Lindo Boulevard facing Forest Park in his career. Following 2 of these mansions he designed with Meritz, and this first one, pictured here, is number 5933, again built in 1917. So this again was Henderson's project as Meritz was in France. Note the hand carvings of the 2 cupids over the transom of the main entry and the handcrafted millwork on the side entrance. But my favorite detail is the framed picture of the original hand-painted wallpaper. It was found under many layers of paper and plaster during the recent renovations by Lucy and Roger Willis. Number 6127 Lindo Boulevard is the very unique Schnoor Mansion. It was designed in 1916. Now, Schnoor owned many of the original car dealerships in St. Louis, and he organized popular driving tours when automobiles were first introduced. As seen in the photo, the pronounced staggered bell-cast roof, studded with shed dormers, and the extra large medallions are astounding, as is the detailed brick and masonry work. I think this is an extremely unique home. Here we have a close-up of the front corbel sitting under the oriel window and a sampling of the handcrafted stained glass window, which can be seen throughout this mansion from the basement to the 3rd floor. Next, note the original stone fireplace with a red marble hearth and the original gold doorknobs and gold light fixtures. Southmore Drive is another prominent Clayton neighborhood, also off Wydown. It features at least 2 known homes designed by Merritts and Henderson, number 15 and 20. Number 15 on the left was designed for the mayor of Clayton at the time, Mr. Roy Atwood. Next, I feature 6955 Waterman, designed in 1919, which is one of the many homes designed by the pair in Ames Place in New City. And I feature this home because of the protruding entry vestibule on the right. This became a Henderson trademark, as I will show you later, and his designs throughout Ladue. This was the very first detached entry vestibule that he designed. In approximately 1919, Henderson split with Merritts for the reasons I've outlined earlier, and he joined the very established firm of Carubia. Angelo Cubio was born in Italy, studied architecture at MIT and Washington University. The firm's offices were located in the Odds Fellow Building and later the historic Demonil Building. The Charles Dunker Hall at Washington University was built by the team in 1923. The building was a gift to the college by the Dunker family to memorialize their son, Charles Jr., who was a World War I casualty. The ornate building was designed in a collegiate revival style and faces the main quadrangle on campus. James P. Jameson, an architect, by the way, that Henderson greatly admired, collaborated on the project. These lovely photos of the building are featured in the publication, Missouri's Contribution to American Architecture. A St. Louis institution, Garavelli's Restaurant, a popular eatery for 60 years in Clayton, famous for the ham and rye on cheese, was designed by the firm in 1925. It was later owned by the Hall of Fame Cardinal slugger Stan Musial. Note the exquisite and ornate Italian blue and white tiles with touches of gold, and look at the original photo of the restaurant. Garavelli's was raised in the 1980s, but the fountain, which once sat in the center of the restaurant, was preserved, and it now stands on the corner of Vanner Kings Highway and Shenandoah. St. Ambrose Church, fashioned after the Basilica St. Ambrogio in Milan, reflects a Lombard Romanesque revival style, and it proudly sits in the center of the St. Louis Italian neighborhood called The Hill. Surrounded by bocce gardens and Italian restaurants, this church, designed by Carubia and Henderson, is a well-known St. Louis landmark, a registered historic building, and a recognized regional landmark. The amazing ornate brickwork of Sicilian immigrant Calogero defined the structure. Look at the exquisite brick details. Also note the hand-drawn cornerstone design featuring Henderson's name on the bottom. The interiors are exquisite, and particularly beautiful are the handcrafted boltos, which is hanging at the Stations of the Cross center bottom. Most of the church's blueprints have been donated to the Missouri Historic Society, but a few are still owned by the Carubia family, including this one. The pair also constructed Bethel Church on the corner of Forsyth and Big Bend. This church was designed in a Gothic revival style. Conning Carubia and Henderson also designed the well-known and historically significant Charles Dunker home on 15 Brentmore Park, which is also featured in the publication Missouri's Contribution to American Architecture. And by the way, this is a photo of the back of the home. The front is around in the back drive. This home was designed in a Jacob Bethan style and is listed on the National Register of Historic Places. Of note, this mansion is now occupied by the direct descendants of the Shoto family, who are considered the founding fathers of St. Louis, and the antiques in the mansion come from the original Shoto mansion, which I featured on the top left, built in 1764. And this is where Lewis and Clark lodged prior to leaving on their famed expedition in 1803. Note the letter D on the copper downspout for Dunker, a personal detail that Henderson would use again. View the beautifully detailed custom hand-carved fascia boards, the exquisite brickwork, and the attractive jetty, which extend from the dining room. The hand-painted millwork located in the sunroom is museum quality, and note also the hand-carved staircase and the grand living fireplace. But the most breathtaking to me is this large hand-carved medallion. It's in the dining room and it occupies most of the ceiling. Look at the beautiful original blueprints from the property. And here are a few more of the original blueprints. The entire neighborhood of Claveret Park in Clayton is listed on the National Register of Historic Places. Henderson designed 4 known homes in the neighborhood and 2 with Carubia. And this is one of those lovely homes. This is number 10. Carubia and Henderson also designed 2 large old-styled homes across from Washington University. Here is 6400 Forsyth Boulevard. Note the original 1924 photo with the old vintage automobile parked in the driveway on the top right. This home with the incredibly beautiful oriel window is now owned by Washington University, but was originally designed for St. Louis and David P. Wall. Wall became a major philanthropist in St. Louis, and he is considered one of the top 100 most influential people who have ever lived in the city. Next door is 6390 Forsyth. It's another beauty designed for the Mont-Levy family. They owned the Angelica Coat Company, responsible for designing the very first modern chef's coat. Note the original blueprint and the original artist rendering of the home. Both of them date back to the 1920s. These next 2 pages show a few more commissions that the firm completed together. And here's another lovely Carubia and Henderson home on Wydown, photographed by Brandon Bates, with brickwork by Calogero Rallo. And note the detailed cornice running underneath the soffit. In 1926, at 35 years old, Gale Henderson became an independent architect, often acting as his own general contractor. His company remained small, Henderson never taking on other architects or employees. His offices were originally located in room 907, the top floor of the famous Wainwright building designed by architect Louis Sullivan. Every Henderson homeowner that I have met, which have been quite a few, have exclaimed about several things. First of all, how much they absolutely love their home, and it's the main reason I wrote the book. Lynn Rasher, for example, who lives in a lovely home off Ladue, is never selling, but is leaving her Henderson home to her children as an inheritance. Many homeowners have literally dragged me to their attics and their basements to demonstrate how solid and well constructed their homes are, and they always point out the amazing personal touches and details. And I am always amazed at the large windows and natural light. There are no dark corners in a Henderson designed home. Before viewing some homes, however, I'm going to briefly mention 2 of the many artisans that Henderson collaborated with of note. The first here is Calogero Rallo. The 2 met while building San Ambrose Church, and he's a master bricklayer. But Rallo and his sons eventually developed into a construction firm that Henderson continued to utilize for decades. Rallo Construction Company is now one of the largest construction firms in Missouri. Yet the Rallos still very humbly contribute their great success to Mr. Henderson, who kept them busy during the Depression. Poor trade are a few of Rallo's master for brickwork. Now, it was this mixture of ornate Italian brickwork with Henderson's Georgian-style mansions, of which he became known, that created a unique blend of superb artistry. Top center, note the little old hook still embedded in the vintage brick. It was utilized to hold scaffolds. But my mother, Mary Henderson, she often traveled with my father to the job sites, and she remembers mules being tied to the home. So maybe the mules were tied here as well. I don't know, but mules were utilized to assist in hauling dirt and digging basements and for carrying lumbers and supplies. Note the angled bricks under the soffit on the top right, creating a rickrack border. Also note the brick coins and the detailed windowsill bottom center. This, by the way, is the GM of the St. Louis Cardinals home, the Mozeliaks. Also look at the fancy brick details under the second story oriel window on bottom left. which is a home off Warson Road. It's absolutely stunning. Also note the brick voussoirs surrounding the custom ironwork of a window in Claveret Park. Next up is famed St. Louis gardener Edith Mason. Now, Mason was chosen by the Missouri Botanical Gardens to redesign the gardens with historic St. Louis architect Eugenia Mackey. Mason also collaborated with Henderson on most of his residential projects. For Mr. Henderson is known for designing the exteriors with as much attention to detail as the interiors, and the following are few examples of Mason's work with Henderson. Bottom right is a garden from a mansion on Lissinger Road. Center, a greenhouse featured from a back patio on Fordyce Lane. Henderson often added a greenhouse or a solarium to his designs. Here we see a typical brick wall and walkway as seen on all Henderson properties. This is on Briarcliff, but by the way, this is just the side entrance of the home. The front is much more elaborate. And also pictured on the left is an English garden designed for a tutor on Fordyce Lane. Here, note the square gardening plots inserted to the patio on 13 Claremont Lane in Ladue. This series of photos depicts exteriors designed for the Perrons in 1930. And it's all the original brick and statues and things. Here is the original gates and fountain pool and sculptures designed for the Matthews on Westmoreland Place. Now I present homes Henderson designed as an independent architect, starting with the homes he designed in the city before suburbs were developed. Henderson, of course, developed his own style, and I will point out these many architectural trademarks in this next portion of my presentation. Julius Pitzman designed Kingsbury Place in 1902. This was in preparation for the World's Fair and the Olympics, for both were held in St. Louis in 1904. The Central West End has been named one of the top 10 neighborhoods in all of America. In Kingsbury Place, with this grand entrance designed by Thomas Barnett, became a designated city landmark in 1983. Featured in the 2019 Central West House Tour, this Henderson arts and crafts styled mansion, number 33 Kingsbury Place, was designed by Henderson before he actually partnered with Merritt's for Mr. and Mrs. Joseph Calfee. Now listen carefully. Henderson was remarkably only 19 years old when he designed this home. Here the Calfees entertained many world dignitaries, and the home was later owned for many years by prominent St. Louisans Liz and Ken Teasdale. Note the demi-lune bay windows and the side oriel window, which houses a vintage stained glass window. And see the letter C on the downspout for the Calfees. Here we have Henderson's great-grandson, Jim Schleifarth, standing in the over a century-year-old front entry. The arts and crafts style double doors and transom are handcrafted of steel and held together with tiny steel pins. Note the handsome handmade flowers. They line the carriage house, and the angular tile designs that are inserted into the veranda's floor. These angular designs are repeated in the interior millwork and the exterior fence pictured on the left. Note the original sliding doors and cherry cedar closet located on the third floor. And by the way, every Henderson home that I have ever been in has a cedar closet somewhere. The arts and crafts style stained glass windows seen throughout were fashioned by unique art and glass of St. Louis, and they're still emanating charm. The grand private streets of Westmoreland and Portland Place were also designed by Julius Pitzman, but in 1887, and they boast the most amazing architect in all of St. Louis. World War II, however, had a devastating effect on many of these 19th century mansions. Supply shortages forced the government to place a ceiling on home expenditures, allowing only $500 a year for home improvements. This was not enough to maintain such large homes, so sadly, many of them fell in disrepair. Now, Henderson, a younger architect who came in his own during the 20s and 30s, was commissioned to raise and rebuild more manageable modern homes for the socially elite in this neighborhood. This included numbers 8, 21, 23, 26, 28, 37, and 45 Westmoreland Place, and several carriage houses. The entire neighborhood is a registered historic district. So on a rainy day in April of 2019, I was invited to the home of Judy and John Kowalski on number 8 Westmoreland. In the rendering is pictured here. It's number 8 Westmoreland. It's a deep set Tudor that Henderson originally designed for Ralph Cole. Now this lot was originally owned by Henry Vandervenner, a Wall Street stockbroker who immigrated from New York with his brothers to invest in St. Louis, and the brothers designed Vandervenner Place, a grand upscale neighborhood that has since been razed. But Vandervenner Avenue, a major street in St. Louis, by the way, still bears their name. Now you have to understand, I had, I had no blueprints when I began my project, as all of Henderson's blueprints were burned in 1969 when he died. So when Judy unlocked the upstairs hall closet and an entire shelf of literally hundreds of hand-drawn sketches created in the 1920s by Mr. Henderson tumbled down upon my head, it was the most magnificent day of my treasure hunt, which I will never forget. Mr. Henderson's blueprints had been burned in 1969 when he died. So that was a really big day for me. Note the detailed drawings of the carved fascia boards and the wood pendle and the lead glass windows in the oriel with corbels. All are typical of English Tudor revival styles. Also note the hand-sketched iron light fixture hanging over the Gibbs surround. Henderson even designed the custom entry oak door and the stained glass house the stained glass number inserted into the door, which is still there. Note the pilaster cap, the scalloped copper roof designed for the side entrance, and even the copper gutters. They were all hand-drawn by Henderson. And this pencil drawing of the iron staircase in the newel, I particularly love. Note the vintage photo, top right, of the red pine herringbone patterned hardwood floors. They were installed by the Missouri Flooring Company. The hand drawings of the east elevation are magnificent. And note the elegant original marble fireplace. This was once owned by the Vandervenner family, and Henderson recycled the fireplace and placed it in the card room of the Coles home. Note the exquisite hand-drawn plaster cornices and crown molding, which are decorated with a leaf and acorn design that Henderson sketched. Also note the pure silver doorknobs found throughout the house. Here we see the hand drawings and photos of the cascading cantilever iron staircases. Next is 21 Westmoreland Place. The original Victorian mansion on lot 21 was constructed in 1887 by the Simons of Simons Hardware. This was the very first home built on Westmoreland or Portland. Edward G. Simons started as a young man sweeping floors in a general store, but rose to become a multimillionaire, eventually owning the largest hardware concern in the country. He was the first to produce a hardware merchandise catalog pictured, and he also patented the famed keen cutter tools, which Shapley Hardware St. Louis eventually bought out. Mr. Simons died suddenly, and Mr. Henderson was then hired to fashion a more manageable home for his widow, Virginia, which is shown here. The entrance to the home is on the side, and you can see the original carriage house in the back. Henderson incorporated the old with the new. Here he recycled the original Victorian quarter-sawn oak to panel the walls in the living room. The original is pictured on the left, and it's now painted gray, as you can see in the other pictures. Henderson also utilized, by the way, the red pine paneling from the original mansion in the dining room. The kitchen counter is fabricated in Tennessee marble. which is a crystalline limestone, really popular in the 20s and 30s. It is still in the kitchen looking absolutely brand new. And note the old piano fashioned into a kitchen island and the original gold hardware. Henderson also remodeled the old Victorian carriage house for the Simon's daughter, Lulie, and her husband, John Crago. This is the oldest structure still standing in Westmoreland and Portland Place, and the remodel was described in all the newspapers. Here are a few pictures of the historic carriage house, and note the old horse ring on the right top, and the carriage bumpers and the vintage rope pulleys. The old church pew was fashioned into a swinging door in the living quarters, very typical of Henderson's style, and note the handsome pine mantle and the copper top cupola. 23 Westmoreland is another property in Henderson's portfolio, which is worth mentioning. The original mansion on this lot was built in 1896 for Hudson and Helen Bridge, who was the first stove manufacturer in the Midwest. Henderson raised this mansion with Rollo Construction in 1949, and he designed the current home for Constant and Harry Matthews, who are the owners of the Mississippi Line Company, still in operation. Here are some of the photos of Henderson's home, which were featured in New York's Town and Country magazine in 1950. This home received many national accolades. The original ornate Cupid and Psyche paneling, top right, and the ornate door cornices have recently been removed to kind of reflect a more simpler lifestyle. Prominent St. Louis A.J. Cervantes, mayor of St. Louis from 1965 to 73, who was the man instrumental in pushing through legislation to complete the St. Louis Arch, once resided in this home. Note the parapet roof, the masonry staggered corner coins, the dramatic scrolled keystones, and the numerous Juliet balconies decorated with roses, especially for Mrs. Matthews. Here is pictured the side entrance door with Ionic columns and a custom crossheader that matches the demi-lune bay window. The exquisite exterior patios and pools were designed with Edith Mason and Peter Seltzer. The interiors are exquisite, and these photos depict some details that are real typical in Henderson's homes, such as the black and white checkered floors and the curved staircases, and the spindles in this banister are taken from the original bridge mansion. And look carefully, because you can see that each baluster is different. Also note the crystal acorn on the newel. Henderson often ornamented the volute curve of the banister. Here the millwork details, note, and the millwork details and the old marble fireplaces, these were borrowed from the bridge mansion. And also note the small arch door under the steps. Found in almost all Henderson design homes, these arch doors usually lead to a powder bath or the basement. 26 Westmoreland Place has very interesting history. The original 28-room mansion, Renaissance mansion designed here, was designed in 1893 for wealthy stove manufacturer George Allen. It once occupied both lots 23 and 26, and the mansion boasted rare purple marbles, opulent fountains, and imported tapestries from all around the world. At the turn of the last century, this was considered the grandest home in all of St. Louis. Here, the Allens hosted many prominent balls and receptions, but it was razed in 1938. And the lots were replaced with an expansive Georgian classic mansion designed by Henderson for Warren Niedringhaus. And here is Henderson's rendering of that mansion. This photo of 26 Westmoreland reveals Henderson's most famed architectural thumbprint, the window in the chimney. Obviously, the flute was encased and a facade constructed to house the window, but throughout Ladue, Clayton, and the Central West End, Henderson inserted windows in the chimneys he designed, leaving his unique forever architectural thumbprint. 28 Westmoreland was designed for Sterling Edmonds in 1939. Note again the window in the chimney circled. We circled it in red for you. Also note the commanding split swan pediment over the entry and another parapet roof. Henderson was commissioned by Robert and Jean Schoenberg, who were the owners of the Maid Company, which is famous bar, in 1947 to remodel this James P. Jameson designed home number 37. The home was originally built in 1905 for Isaac Leyenberger. Look at the top left photo. He was the Attorney General for President Grover Cleveland. Now, in the remodel, Henderson knocked off the third floor to fashion a more manageable and modern home for the Schoenbergs. But it's worth noting, Henderson actually used all the building materials from this third floor to build my parents' first newlywed home in Glendale as a wedding gift. With the advent of automobiles, Henderson also remodeled the old carriage house, which you see on the bottom left, into a workable garage and guest house. Now, there are other homes Henderson designed on Lindo and Westmoreland, but they're depicted in the book. Henderson also designed a plethora of magnificent homes off Ladue Road in Creve Coeur. Several have unfortunately been razed, but many remained. I have selected only one of interest to mention, and that's the Cry Stone Mansion, designed in 1933. At almost 9,000 square feet, this mansion once sat alone on 40 acres on the corner of Lindbergh and Ladue Roads. It was the country home of Fred Cry, the founder of Cry Meatpacking Company, founded in 1882. And by the way, the Cry facility is still located in Hyde Park, in the Hyde Park district. The entrance pilings into Chatfield Place off Ladue Road were the original gates to the Cry estate designed by Henderson. This led to the large gold gilded gates, which I just showed you, that lead to this open circular drive. Now, this Magnolia and Rose Garden feature a fountain custom designed by Henderson with cranes spurting water. The original iron double doors are flanked by large lanterns, and they lead to a marbled entrance vestibule. Here are a couple more views of the front, featuring the battlement parapet roof over the dining room bay window and a close-up of the iron doors. In Glendale, the iconic mansion, known in town as the King of the Hill, has become a popular destination for Sunday drivers. This 10,000 square foot stone mansion was designed by Henderson in 1927 for Leonard Martin. He was the son of the founder of the Crundon Martin Company. The Crundon Martin Company manufactured wooden and metal houseware products, including helmets and gas cans in World War II. The stone piling entrance to the present-day Algonquin Estates, which is right next door to the Algonquin Country Club, was originally designed by Henderson as the entrance to this Martin mansion. But since the 1920s, the land's been subdivided, and today the original back entry, shown here, faces Kings Pond Road and is utilized as the main entrance. Here is that stone piling that was the original entrance, the back entrance again, and the bottom depicts kind of a side view of the front of the mansion. Here's a few more views of the back entry. Note that metal shell on the top right that covers the lock on the back door. I find that quite charming. Here are a few photos of the interiors. Note the huge stoned archways, also seen in a Henderson home in the St. Louis Country Club grounds. Note the custom iron banister and air vents, and the living room fireplace details are quite stunning. Note the vintage arch doors, the door hardware, and the custom desk top right, which is from the library. The inlaid tile designs are inserted into cement floors in various areas of the three-story mansion. But my favorite discovery is this vintage built-in wooden icebox. It's still operating, acting today as the current owner's wine cooler. And the pump, which Henderson designed for the icebox, still sits in the basement. And after 100 years, it is working as good as the day it was installed. The bulk of Henderson's homes that he designed are scattered throughout the city of Ladue, where Henderson is well known for his white chipped brick Georgian Revival styled homes. Henderson developed Fordyce Lane with his good friend Samuel Fordyce, an attorney and the son of Southern Railroad tycoon Samuel Fordyce. Henderson designed he designed 8 known homes in the neighborhood, and Mary Potter Love, the first woman realtor in St. Louis, pictured here, was a good friend of the Henderson family, and she worked with Henderson and Fordyce to sell all of these properties. Now we have a number 8, and number 8 Fordyce Lane was custom built for Archie Lee. He was the CEO of Darcy Advertisement, and he is known for coining the phrase, "This bud's for you," and the pause that refreshes with the beloved Coca-Cola Santa Claus. Note the original rendering and the sprawling mansion. Unique to Henderson at number 2 and number 8 Fordyce is the ever exquisite and my personal favorite, the glass protruding entry vestibule, looking much like a greenhouse. The protruding vestibule became an architectural feature seen in many of the Ledoux homes designed by Henderson. Here's a couple of examples of these vestibules. This protruding entrance vestibule can be seen on number 1 Romero Road, which is another neighborhood where Henderson designed multiple homes. This classic Henderson home located in Country Life Acres also flaunts a protruding vestibule and his characteristic white chipped brick. The top left shows Henderson thumbprint window inserted in the chimney on number 8 Fordyce Lane, and another one on 19 Fordyce Lane. And these windows were a great help to me in my scavenger hunt locating Henderson homes. Here are a few photos of these chimney windows seen throughout St. Louis on Henderson's homes. And look at the picture on the right. I particularly love this chimney. It's from a home on Westmoreland Drive. It features not 1, but 2 windows and a door in the chimney. Henderson left his mark on this home in a really big way. And by the way, you see the door with the iron portico next to the chimney. This is a big clue that Henderson was the architect. Number 9 Fordyce Lane is one of the largest Tudors in St. Louis at 10,000 plus square feet. This Tudor was designed by Henderson for the Lane family. Here are photos of the home taken by the talented Cynthia Hamby of Aspire Media 360. Note the commanding entrance located at the back of the home off the driveway. The back entrance of a Henderson home was often the most elaborate. The most noteworthy feature of this stunning Tudor compared to most Tudor homes is the use of light in windows, as shown in the following photos. And by the way, if you look at the photo on the left, you see that door. That is a man's hat closet. Found in the homes built in the 1920s and 30s, the closet was created to store top hats. Look at all the light in all the windows. There are no dark corners in this mansion, so prevalent in most Tudors. Again, note the light transference in the living room, the green and red large border surrounding the original terrazzo flooring, and the absolutely stunning stone fireplace and millwork inlaid with flowers. The carved flowers around the fireplace and on the millwork coordinate with the inlaid flower in the pantry floor. The turret is cherry, paneled with cherry, creating a library with a fireplace and a gorgeous view of the English garden and pool in the back. And here is the glass pool house of number 8 Fordyce Lane. It features a brick fireplace and his and her bathrooms. This pool house is reminiscent of another glass pool house that Henderson designed for the magnificent 777 Cellar Road, also pictured below. 26 Fordyce is another magnificent Henderson home that features a lot of his architectural traits. First, note the protruding entry vestibule. This time, it's constructed in brick, decorated with corner coins, and topped with delicate ironwork. You can see that ironwork best on the bottom picture on the right. Also note the intricate fretwork on the kitchen entrance off the driveway. Throughout Clayton and Ledoux, Henderson homes were often designed with custom wood fretwork and detailed custom ironwork. Here's an example. Look at the amazing fretwork surrounding the portico on this Henderson home on Piccadilly Lane, which is another neighborhood, by the way, that is just teeming with Henderson homes. And by the way, that little Georgian round window, kind of hiding behind the bushes, and the Gothic arched window with the winged shutters are more clues that Henderson was the architect. The bottom picture is an entry with fretwork from a home on Warson Terrace. Here are a few samplings of the detailed ironwork often seen on Henderson's homes throughout Ladue, and note that they're never the same patterns. And for interest, that center picture, that white home, that's the Switzer home of the famed Switzer licorice family. That's their back door. Henderson designed homes for the Switzers in Charlevoix, Michigan, and also on Upper Ladue Road. The bottom center home was designed for the owner of the Robertson Aircraft Company. He hired Charles Lindbergh as a mail carrier and then helped fund the Spirit of St. Louis and Lindbergh's famed transatlantic flight to Paris. Now we enter the St. Louis Country Club grounds. Nestled between Price Road and Ladue Roads, Henderson designed 9 known homes in the prestigious Country Club grounds. And on the far right, there is Bobby Jones visiting the club in the 1920s when Henderson began working here. One of the grandest homes in the club is number 31. It is presently occupied by one of the co-owners of the St. Louis Blues. And so, yes, the Stanley Cup visited here in 2019, and that alone is reason enough to love this home. Look how large it is by looking at the aerial view down on the right. This home is also famed, by the way, for having a horse from the polo field prance through the hallways during a cocktail party in the 1930s. Note again the window in the chimney and the incredible brickwork of Calogero Rallo, and that the back of the home is facing Glen Eagles Drive. And the main entry, of course, in true Henderson style, is off the back driveway. Note the brick wall and patio with garden gate. The back driveway features 2 entries. And look at the old door knocker, shaped like a hand mounted on one of the entry doors. I particularly love this. The interiors of 31 are quite elegant, as you can see. And note the fluted engaged columns. The den and the back hall are equally tasteful. The marble mantle was purchased at Chesney's in London to match the fluted engaged columns. Beautiful photography again by Brandon Bates. 42 Glen Eagles, the back featured here, is rumored to have once been a showplace home for Henderson in the 1920s, but was designed for Dr. Keyes, a cancer specialist, and his wife, Emily Shepley. Here again, the back of the home faces Glen Eagles, but look at the details. Look at the ironwork and the millwork and the patios. And yes, another very common characteristic of Henderson homes, the millwork fan. He often used glass fans as well. Note the back door, the detailed dental moldings, the hand-carved wood fan, and the Juliet iron balcony, all which overlook the golf links. These photos depict the real entrance, the Georgian grand style entry off the back driveway. Curved, elegant, and cantilever staircases are present in all Henderson designs and are never quite the same. Look at the vintage blueprint and particularly unique wrapping scroll at the end of the stairwell depicted on the top right photo. And here are just a few more pictures of Henderson staircases seen throughout Ladue, from Barnes Road, Kent Road, and the Country Club. Here are a few more elegant staircases designed by Henderson. The one on the left is in another home in the Country Club. A few more staircases, and my #1 favorite Henderson personal detail on the right is the ivory scrimshaw inserted into the volute of the banister. And by the way, do you see the Greek key design on the curved entry floor on the left? This Greek key design was actually repeated in the crown molding in the hallway of this home, which is off White Bridge Lane. Henderson's great talent was his details. The use of incredible millwork and masonry work on the exterior and the interiors of all of his homes are legendary and even more detailed than most homes designed by his contemporaries. Pause and look at Henderson's millwork designs as seen on 42 Glen Eagles. I have never seen the same millwork pattern or ironwork designs used twice, and this is a great tribute to the creative mind of Gale Henderson. Look at the amazing entry to 12 St. Andrews on the Country Club. They don't make homes like this anymore. Here are some more examples of the master for interior and exterior millwork from Henderson's portfolio. Oh dear. We have a technical detail here. We have a technical difficulty for a moment. Excuse me just a moment. How do I get on this? We just had a technical difficulty here. Give us just a second.
No problem at all. We're all here.
I've got it. Just a moment.
Just go on your paper, with your paper.
Nope, I got it right here.
Okay.
Thank you for being so patient.
We appreciate the time to be able to look at all these details. This is great.
Here are some more examples, as I mentioned, of the master for interior and exterior millwork. And note on this next slide, the split pediment and again, the arch door placed under the steps. This is a home on Dromero Road, by the way. Here is some more outstanding craftsmanship as seen on our homes in Barnes Road. And again, I've never seen that same millwork on the exterior demi-lune. Every home is different. Look here at some more exterior millwork details featuring different types of scallop designs. And look at this home with the stars. I love the stars in the millwork. Here's the different scallop designs. And here is a gorgeous entry on 14 Dromero Road. And last, look at these unique detail entry doors and trim displayed on several homes in Frontenac Estates. As you can tell, every home is different. Next, I feature 46 Glen Eagles Drive, and this is my very favorite back door. This astounding back entry features an elegant wooden protruding entrance vestibule, topped with a Bordeaux shell design in the ironwork that actually coordinates with the masonry window cornices. It was originally built for attorney Wilbur Jones in 1936, and I am delighted to report that Wilbur's grandson now lives in this Henderson custom home. This photo depicts the back door of the same home, which actually faces the street. Here are some more views of the exterior detailing, and note the Bordeaux design on the masonry window cornices, the back door trim, and the heavy dental molding. Again, note the arch door under the steps and the beautiful pine library with equally stunning craftsmanship. Here are the original hand-drawn renderings for number 46, and my favorite scribble is on the top right. We found this tucked in the blueprints. Obviously, a little quick sketch that Henderson made to instruct one of his contractors, and I absolutely love that. Here's some more of Henderson's vintage hand-drawn elevations, a piece of art in and of themselves. Here we have another majestic Henderson brick colonial home. It's in the Country Club, and it's perched high on a hill at 18 Pine Valley Drive. Look at the aerial view and you can see how large the home is. On the bottom, note the huge stone arches, very similar to the Kings Pond mansion that I showed you in the kitchen and the garage. Also note the original tin ceiling in the billiard room. Next, I briefly include this mansion off Litzinger Road, painted by watercolorist Melinda Rolenveld. 10045 Litzinger Road is a 9,000 square foot mansion built in 1936 for Monsanto executive Tulis Tupper. The Deloge family, who were repeat Henderson clients, have also resided in this sprawling estate. Now we go to Olivet, and in 1920s and 30s, Old Bonham Road was just a two-rut dirt road, and this 20-acre estate was designed by Henderson for the Stannard family, who owned and operated flour mills located in Illinois. The original shutters have been removed, and this is a view of the back of the home, which faces the front drive in true Henderson style. Note the original urn in the circular drive and the unique eyebrow dormer. Renowned author Elizabeth Kendall, a Mary Institute grad, came of age in this home, which is portrayed and pictured in her nationally acclaimed book titled American Daughter. Kendall also wrote The Runaway Bride, which is adopted by Hollywood in a movie we have probably all seen, starring Julia Roberts and Richard Gere. The original estate has been subdivided, and the lane that originally led to this home is now called Stannard Lane after Henderson's client, which, by the way, that was the clue that led me to locate this home. Note the garden fountains in Cupola Martin House, and I have seen many Martin houses and Ledoux homes designed by Henderson. Here is the main entrance off the back, featuring a wooden millwork fan embedded in the cornice and engaged columns. As you can see, the house is quite sprawling, and it's very well loved and preserved by owner David Allen today. The interior millwork is breathtaking. Look at the hand-carved door cornices and the crown molding. More incredible woodworking and a mantel with dental details and fluted colonnettes complete this dining room. Here are a few more views of the living room, photos by Brandon Bates. And here is the stunning green and raspberry solarium with the original terrazzo floorings. Now I present one of my favorite homes, 112 Center Drive. It's located in Richmond Heights, and the photography is by Cynthia Hamby. This mansion was originally designed and built for Paul Few's Ring. And yes, that's the same Few's family who owns many St. Louis area car dealerships. This home has been owned by famed sports announcer Jack Buck and also American businesswoman Georgia Frontier, who was the original majority owner of the St. Louis Rams. The home features exquisite details, several which are very unique. First to note is the lavender window pane on the right. I discovered in my research that Eleanor Murray, the wife of Mr. Ring, came from Boston. And in the 1880s, windows had apparently been shipped in from Europe for the brownstones located in Beacon Hill and Back Bay. The windows contained too much magnesium and consequently turned purple when exposed to oxygen. Instead of returning the windows to Europe, it soon became a status symbol in Boston to own a purple tinted window called a lavender. So Mr. Henderson sourced these special lavender windows for the Rings to incorporate in their custom home. Here, note the Boston window, the lavender on the second floor, but it's the scalloped copper top demi-lune bay window with its copper ball sitting on top that is the most extraordinary. A custom designed curved window seat wraps around the interior of this window, and it was designed to fit all 12 of the Ring's children. A Henderson classic twist. This is a view of the back of the house that faces Center Drive. And this back door actually opens directly into a paneled library. It is not the front door. Here is the entrance to the back, or the main entrance to the home, which also leads to an attached 4-car garage. Here is the main entry, and the large portico, of course, is topped in copper to match the scalloped copper-topped bay window. Look at the gorgeous interior entry. Note the exquisite millwork, split pediment, shell motif, and Greek key design in the niches, and the custom ironwork in the glass fan. I have never seen the same embedded ironwork patterns utilized in any of Henderson's homes, and here are just a few examples. Look at the different kinds of ironwork that Henderson embedded into his glass fans and transoms. Back to the interiors of the Ring home. This large home was once the formal dining room, and it's now converted into a family room. Note not only the glass fans, but glass doors and the old wall radiators and the majestic custom cornices over the doorways. And if you look carefully, you can see that the doors are decorated with an egg and dart design. Here are a few more views of 112 Center Lane, of the solarium, and the ever-present brick walls and garden sculptures. Next, I present a video of an equestrian estate in Huntley, designed in the 1930s. I want you to see how many Henderson architectural features you can spot. And yes, there is a window in the chimney. This last home of the presentation is the very last residential home that Henderson designed in his career. It was designed in 1964, located at number 7 Bell Riff Country Club Drive. Henderson was 74 years old when this home was completed, and his career had spanned approximately 55 years. Henderson had designed a multitude of magnificent residential homes in St. Louis, many which are now listed on the National Register of Historic Places. He also designed and built over 50 churches and a plethora of educational centers throughout and other public buildings throughout the Midwest. I close my presentation with a glance at a few of Henderson's oil paintings. As an amateur artist, Henderson once acted as the president of the St. Louis Artists Guild. This pre-arch St. Louis landscape is located in the mezzanine of the Missouri Athletic Club, where Henderson was very active. Henderson is in the forefront painting, and that, of course, is his paint palette pictured below. Here's a few more examples of his artwork. The church on the left is a church that he designed in Ohio. Here are a few more of his lovely paintings. And last is a watercolor that Henderson painted of the home that he designed for his own family at number 8 Tremero Road. He had certainly come a long way from the humble home in St. James where he grew up. This is a watercolor of the back of the home, but it's worth noting that before Henderson built his home for his family, he first designed a beautiful home in Webster Hills for Chief Henderson and his mother. And he also helped his sister, who had paid his way through Washington University Architectural School, settle in a lovely Webster Groves home as well, because this is the kind man that Gale Henderson was. And finally, here is a photo of Gale Henderson as I knew him in his later years. We called him Gaka, and he was greatly loved. Thank you for letting me share a little bit of the life and the works of Gale Henderson tonight, despite our little mechanical glitch. I hope you have come to appreciate his great talents and his contribution to the city of St. Louis. Thank you and good evening.